Hey, it's Linda Winter with Winter Designs and Martelli Enterprises. I want to show you something you've seen before, but not everything you've seen before. My microwave bowl cozy. We're going to get cozy, but we're going to get cozy in bigger and better ways and smaller ways too. This is my cozy. Those of you that have made cozies, you've probably seen my video before. I'm going to rehash a little bit, but I'm not going to cover all the details because I want to show you a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm going to talk really fast. So hit that replay, hit the rewind, hit the pause, whatever you need to do, because I want to show you a whole bunch of stuff. I came out with the 10.5 inch because I had customer requests for a template that would make the microwave bowl cozies faster, easier, better, more accurate, more consistent. The holes allow you to do that, and Martelli's Get a Grip. This Get a Grip grabs, so you can see it grabs whatever is underneath it. And my other videos will show you how to cut. I'm going to show you a few things on marking, but I really want to focus in on what you guys have been asking me. I came out with the 10.5 inch. Why? Because it works with most of your bowls. This is for ice cream as well as things in the microwave. When you put something in the microwave, the traditional manner, we take a piece of batting, fold it in half with your cotton on the bottom. You do a dart, you do a dart, you fold it in half the other way. You do a dart, you do a dart. You sew those two pieces with another two pieces. It's a cozy. It goes in the microwave and it keeps everything nice and cozy. The problem is when you fold in half and you fold in half, if your darts aren't the same width, so imagine from here, this width isn't exactly the same as this, they're not the same length, they're not perfectly centered, which is what's going to happen sometimes when you do this and you do this and you do this and you do that. That's the stitching. Then it spills when it goes in the microwave. My customers told me that. So instead of doing that, I came up with the holes. The holes allow us to place this on, and I mark those holes for my darts. What the holes will give me is accurate, consistent. So I want to show you a few new things, but old. You guys, before I told you to mark. What I want to tell you now is mark up and down. You see in the direction, this is your X stitch lines. So I'm going to mark this way. I'm basically going up and down. Up and down. That helps me kind of follow along that line when I'm stitching. This is going to be the X mark when we're stitching. So we would do the same thing here, the same thing here. Follow the X's. These are our darts. We're going to go this way and this way. So when they come out, I'm not going to do all of these, but you'll see that those kind of give you a direction, and then we're basically just going to draw. Now I have a new ruler that I love. This is my 2x14, and you can see this is a 10.5 inch. It doesn't exactly fit, but what it will allow me to do is use that as a guide, so I can move this along. And I'm basically just giving myself the stitch lines. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to move that up to the corner, and those are my stitch lines. So you're going to see in the other videos me doing that. I'm not using this. I'm using another ruler, but I love this guy. We'll use it for something else later on. We're going to do the same thing here. I can use the template, that ruler if I want, or I'm just drawing. Those are my darts. That means this dart will be the same, so no more of those issues. When we cut with this, our cut is going to be consistent here, 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 and here, because we've got that Get a Grip. You can use the 45 millimeter. The 28 millimeter is great as well. My other videos, I talk about batting. This is a 8-ounce batting. You'll also have the option of a 6-ounce on my website. If you look at this, this is your traditional batting. And when we talk about all of this stuff, it's this 3 C's: cotton, cotton, cotton. Cotton fabric, down here, cotton batting, 100% cotton batting, no scrim, and cotton thread, 100% cotton thread. Even if you're doing an embroidery design, embroidery threads, they're not 100%. So make sure you look for 100% cotton, and not the one that has a, I can't remember what it's called, but it has basically a piece that's spun on top of that. So that's not going to be what we want it to be. So we do that. That's the process that we do, and what we end up getting is a piece on the top, a piece on the bottom. We can sew them together. In my first video, I didn't talk about stitching along the edge, but what I do tell you now is stitch along the edge. If you have a serger, serger threads are not 100% cotton, so take 4 bobbins, get your cotton thread, this guy here, and wind up bobbins so you can serge these if you're going to be making a ton of them. If you're not going to make a ton, then you can just use your sewing machine and stitch along the edge. When you stitch along the edge, you're batting, because you're stitching down, that batting is going to move. Do you see how I have more batting over here than I have over here? There's more batting here than there is here. So when you stitch those, make sure that you're catching. See how I haven't caught here? Why is that important? When we go to sew these together, I don't want this flipping over and then feeling funky. when you're actually using this. And then when you finish that, you can trim around. Now trimming, you can use your regular scissors, but I love Martelli's snippets. These guys here, holding them this way or holding them this way. Notice the tines, they're going up versus the tines are going down. I like to use them this way, and you can snip, snip, snip. I'll snip after I sew my two pieces together to get rid of all the bulk that's there. So those are great. The embroidery scissors are really great too, especially when I'm snipping all of the curves and the joins where these come together at the dart. So those are really good too. At the sewing machine, I also like to use this guy. This here, this pushes and prods. So if you're getting stuck under your sewing machine, you can give a little bit of an emphasis with that. We're going to talk about the tape measure in a minute because I had the 10.5 inch that I mentioned. You guys have been asking me to come out with other sizes, so I came out with the 10 inch. Why? The layer cakes. Layer cakes, they come in 10 inches. They're squares already done for you, and all you have to do is just cut off the fabric. Imagine there's fabric and fabric. You're just cutting that off, so they're super fast. And then I had the 12.5 inch. The 12.5 inch is great for regular size plates. I came out with the 15 inch a little bit later on, so those of you that know me, you've seen those already. But I've had lots of requests for smaller ones. Why? We're going to pan over here because we have smaller plates, smaller bowls, smaller dishes. Those of you that have motorhomes that are traveling, you'll have smaller areas to store all of these things with smaller hands, smaller microwaves. These sizes work really well. For kids too, it's great for kids. And I even had somebody request a cozy for cups and mugs and those kinds of things. So I'm introducing my 9.5, my 8.5, my 7.5, my 6.5. They're all the same. They all have the X stitches. They all have the darts for those. So when you watch the other videos that I have, we're going to do it the same way, but they're going to make different sizes. So we're going to pan over here. Actually, I'm going to move over here. So I have stitched these, but I haven't finished these. So you can see there's an opening here, there's an opening here. Just don't have enough time to get these things done. But you see how that becomes a nice little cozy. So that if this is a cold drink or really hot drink, and this is a nice dining room table or a coffee table, and I don't want that to leave any marks, this is a great place for me to store it. This one, this is the way the template actually comes. I've changed the darts a little bit so it's a little bit steeper. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, but this is the way it comes. So if I had a smaller bowl, if I had one of these containers, these guys, I can do that as well. I love the idea of doing Timtex or Peltex. It's not microwave safe, but if I put Timtex or Peltex in these, then they become bowls or trays that I can actually use on my table, at my sewing room, wherever, and I don't need to have a bowl or anything else to put inside there. You'll see me do that in the other videos. So that's the 6.5 right there. The 7.5 is here, and you can see this is the way that it comes, but you can also do it flat. This has a little bit of a dart, much more, not as much. I'll show you how to do that as well, but you can see, again, with a Timtex or Peltex, or even the Iron Quick material, like the Insulbright, then it can really be like a nice little trivet. This is the 6.5, 7.5, this is the 8.5. I love the idea of kids having this as a nice little kind of a, you know, for their cereal, when they're spilling milk. If you have dogs and cats, put their cat bowl, their food bowl in here so that they're spilling on here. Thanks, Laura. That's my sister that gave me that hint. You can see here, this is perfect for these smaller plates. So again, for kids or motorhomes or those kinds of things. So 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. My 9.5 is over here, and I left this one so I can show you how we're going to adjust. You can see I've got two bowls here. This doesn't fit, this doesn't fit. So what I want to do is be able to adjust. What we're going to end up doing is looking at the back side. I've stitched. You can stitch if you want to, but you don't have to when you're trying to test out what will fit. When I place this here, I'm going to just literally pinch. And I don't know if Zeke, you can see my pointer finger and thumb, my pointer finger and thumb. I'm basically going to be pinching, and then I'm going to stop, get rid of this guy, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to look where my thumb is, and I'm going to put a mark here. What I'm going to do is look to see with this guy here, how much space there is. Now I lost my 6-inch hemming ruler. That's what I really like you to use. It's that silver ruler. It's 6 inches long. It has that little slide. It's going to give you a more accurate measurement. What we want to look at is from here to where the dot is. And I want to see how far that is. Basically, that's like 3/4. So I'm going to put a mark here. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to put a mark here. And then down here, I'm basically going to leave that, but then I'm going to connect and connect. I'm not doing that on this sewing area. I'd really be doing that on this area flat. What will I do? I'll do the same thing over here. I'll do the same thing over here. The same thing, the same thing. Let's go to this one so you can see. So when I've done that little pinching, you know, I'm basically deciding how much I want, and I look to see if that's where my dot was, then I'm going to measure out how far we are from here to here, and then measure out. And this I do want to keep the same, so I can even use this to basically draw my line down. I do the same dot, the same. What that allows me to do is get a little bit more of a curve. Let me show you what I mean. This is my 10.5 inch. This bowl isn't anything like my bowl that's for my 10.5 inch. This is the way the 10.5 inch is designed, and you can see how it fits there. So with this, I went in and pinched basically to bring those darts up. Look at the length of the dart there. Look at the length of the dart here. This is standard. This is the longer one that I've done just to fit this bowl, because our bowls come with different curves. I don't know how you call that, but this is higher. And you can see this one doesn't sit in there. I want to have a cozy that fits. So when I'm working with smaller bowls, 10 inch, 10.5 inch, I'm going to pull over here. This is my 12.5 inch. This is my 15 inch. What I love about the 15 inch and even the 12.5 inch is adding a handle. This is from Nancy. Thank you, Nancy, for coming up with this idea. Do you see how this bowl, this kind of hugs it pretty nicely? But then I've got this, and it still hugs it pretty nicely. My banana nut loaf bread pan, I have one at home. I don't know where it is. It did make it in the video, but it should be right here. So I could show you how this would really hug even that banana nut loaf bread. So it doesn't have to be solid, round, or rectangular, or whatever. So your Pyrex bowls, all those things, they fit in here beautifully. So you have different sizes that you can do with these, but we're going to be adjusting the angles from the template to be able to fit. So how do we know which template we should use? Well, if you're going to buy one template, if you've heard me say this before, I'll always say it again. If you're going to buy one template, the 10.5 inch is the one to buy. Why most of your cereal bowls, your microwave bowls, your soup bowls are going to be 10.5 inch. Once you start getting into the pasta bowls and the Asian bowls and things like that, then the 12.5 inch is better. But if you're not sure and you want to make it really particular, take the measuring tape, and we're going to go from the highest point, and we're going to just basically follow down, follow down, follow down. I'm at like 8.5 almost. I want you to add 2 inches basically, because we're going to be having a seam allowance on the left, a seam allowance on the right, on the front, on the bottom. So north, south, east, west. So I've got 8.5 inch here, so that 10.5 inch microwave bowl cozy would work best. When I bring this along, you can see this one's closer to 8 inches. So that adding 2 inches, then I'm going to be using the 10 inch for this. So if you want a way to be able to figure out which bowl, which template works best for the bowls that you have, get that measuring tape out and just basically go from the top to the other side and add 10 inches for that. Okay, so I want to show you the handle. The handle is pretty cool, and we're going to talk fussy cutting in a minute too. So this is a 2 by 14, or 2 inches by 14 inches in length. If I wanted a template, and I'm trying to find my fabric, here we go. If I wanted to use a template with a handle, this is how it all started. Again, thank you, Nancy. This fits this bowl here. See how this is a little bit bigger than this. This is the 10.5 inch where it would fit, but this fits. And it also fits this big guy here because she added 2 handles. Now, I love the idea of 2 handles, but I can get kind of lazy, so the 1 handle idea worked just fine for me. So you can do 2 handles if you want, or you can do 1 handle. She did a 2 by 12 on here. I did a 2 by 14. I made a 2 by 14 ruler for you, so you can do up to 14. You can actually do more than that if you want to. What are we going to do? We're going to do right sides together of your handle fabric and then a piece of your batting. If this is going in the microwave, then it needs to be 100% cotton batting. If it's not, then don't worry about the fiber content itself. When we go to cut, we're basically cutting, turning, cutting, and we're doing this guy here. But what I want to do is grab some fabric. And I don't know where my batting went, but I had a piece. Let's just grab, we're going to pretend that I have batting. And you can see here with this, I've got 14 inches. If I don't want this to be 14 inches, if I want this to be 12 inches, then I'm basically going to square off down here. Once I do that, then I'm going to line up that line here. See that 2 inch mark? I'm going to line that up with where I've squared off. I haven't really squared off because I want to show you fussy cutting with this. And when I go to cut, when I've got that lined up, I'm basically going to cut, turn my template, cut, turn my template, done. And that'll give me a 2 by 12. If I wanted a 2 by 6, well, 14 minus 6 equals 8. So I'm going to place this down here. Again, we're pretending that I've squared up. I'm going to turn this, me being a lefty, I'm going this way. Cut, turn, and done. Squaring up first. So we can use this ruler for a whole bunch of other things. Once you do that, you're going to turn that right sides out. Let me grab, I do have one that isn't finished. And this was supposed to have a handle in it, and the handle is who knows where. Welcome to my world. You guys know how I am with this, but we're going to stick inside here. This is going to be turned right sides out. I'm just sewing down this side and sewing down this side and then turning. When I've turned that, I'm basically going to stick this inside here. We're going to go all the way. I'm going to reach inside over here. We're pretending that this is turned. Hopefully you guys are with me. And I'm just going to place the pin looking at, see that? That's the middle of this side. So I want to have the middle of this. And again, this would be right sides together. We would have had the right sides out. And I would take that pin, and I'm going to pin that going this way. All right? And then I would do the same thing. I'd have this over here. And I don't care about all the bulk. It's going to make this kind of puckered. It doesn't really matter. I'm looking for, there's my line, and put the center, and then put that center, line everything up, and put that pin. And then when I stitch, notice what I've done here. I've pinned straight so that I'm not having to worry about sewing over those pins so much. I can pull them out easily. But over here, this tells me where I stop to have my opening. So we're going to leave an opening about like this. As much as you can do on the straight edge, not on the curve. It's harder to turn. And I'd have an opening here. Make your opening as small as you possibly can because we don't want to spend the time trying to make that nice and pretty. Okay, so I want to show you fussy cutting. Those of you that know the Tula Pink Fabrics, this is her newest line, and I love this. I think the 9.5 was the one that was the largest that I could do with this. Notice how there's a pattern from here to here, from here to here, and basically from here to here. So what I want to do is fold in half, and I'm going to look at the top and look at the bottom, and I'm kind of looking at my fabric and looking at my fabric, and I'm going to give this a good press. And then I'm going to turn this way. And what I want to do is look at here, this guy here, and this guy here. I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually going to open this up so you can see it a little bit better. This curve here and this curve here, I basically want to have those lined up, and then I give that a good press. Once I give it a good press, as soon as I do that first side, I'm going to go in and mark right here. You can see how I put a green mark here, and then I come down here and I have a green mark here. Notice here, right here, I can look at the fabric and see this is the divide, so I don't even have to fold that there. What I'm going to do is take my template. I'm basically going to be looking at, here's my green over here, here's my green over here, and I want to line up. See how I've got a green and I've got a hash mark. And over here, I've got to turn it this way so that that gets lined up. I take a moment to make sure that was there. Notice this is too big, the 9.5 inch, so I'm going to have to go to my 8.5 inch. Couldn't remember which size it was. But we're basically, once we get those hash marks lined up, then we're not ready to cut. You can see how I've got this here. Then we're going to cut a piece of our batting, smaller than what we have. But what I would do is go ahead and basically cut off, and cut off, and cut off. So I've got that. Now I'm going to take my piece of batting and I'm basically going to cut almost right around that edge. And we're going to line that up. When I go to cut, y'all have watched my videos before, I tell you 2 different ways to cut with the template. I'm basically cutting off. That's what you see me doing now. And you can see, I said I'm going to cut around and give myself an edge. I didn't. I went ahead and cut the whole side the size that it should be rather than leave that edge, and then I can place this right on top. Imagine I've taken the time to clean that up. And we're going to put this here and we'll fold in half and fold in half, and basically where those folds are, I can see there's that green there. We're going to place this here and then we're going to fold in half, and I can look to see basically if that's lined up. Then I can put that template on top and cut around. The reason why I want to have this here is I don't want to cut this by itself and cut the other piece by itself too. I'm looking for my pen. I want to be able to do those dots and cut because I want this fabric and this batting to stay together. So we would do those. But what that allows you to do is fussy cut so that you can get something that's more centered. What you want to think about is if you are going to do something fussy cutting like this, your darts where my darts are, we're basically looking at from here to here. I'm looking at my dot. I'm lining up, and I'm lining that up on the edge. I'm going to be stitching here. If I'm stitching here, do I lose any of my design? You can see I don't lose any of her face. If I had a smaller template or a bigger fabric with this, then I may not want to use this fabric for this. This is a perfect fabric choice for doing those plates too. Think about doing a nice serving plate with this, especially one that's clear. I think that would be really cool. So you can fussy cut with those as well. All right, so Zeke, tell me how many minutes we have on the video.
20.
20, oh my gosh. Okay, thanks guys. I'm gonna go do another video and show you a few more projects with this since we're out of time. Thanks for watching.